Distance formula and circles. The distance formula. The distance d between points x1, y1 and x2, y2 is given by the distance formula. D equals the square root of x1 minus x2 parentheses squared plus y2 minus y1 parentheses squared. To find the distance between 2 points x1, y1 and x2, y2, we are really looking for the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Taking the difference of x2 and x1, squaring it, adding that to the difference of y2 minus y1 squared, I'll have c squared, which is the hypotenuse. Once I take the square root of that result, I have my distance d. In this example, find the distance between the two given points. Give an exact answer. 3, 2 and 5, 6. Using the distance formula, d equals the square root of x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3, parentheses squared, plus y2, which is 6, minus y1, which is 2, parentheses squared. So this equals the square root, 5 minus 3 is 2 squared, plus 6 minus 2 is 4 squared, which equals the square root of 4 plus 16, which equals the square root of 20. 20 is 4 times 5, so the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 5 stays a radical. So the distance between the ordered pairs of 3, 2 and 5, 6 is 2 square roots of 5. For this example, find the distance between the two given points. Give an exact answer. The ordered pair -3, -1 and 2, -6. Using the distance formula, substitute d equals the square root of x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is -3, parentheses squared, plus y2, which is -6, minus y1, which is -1, parentheses squared. Since I have 2 minus a -3, that's the same as 2 plus 3, and -6 minus a -1 is the same as -6 plus 1. This equals the square root, 2 plus 3 is 5, squared, plus -6 plus 1 is -5, squared, which equals the square root of 25 plus 25, which equals the square root of 50. I can write 50 as 25 times 2, so the square root of 25 is 5. 2 stays under the radical, so the distance between the points -3, -1 and 2, -6 is 5 square root 2. Equation of a circle. Definition. A circle with center point C and radius r, where r is greater than 0, is the set of all points in a plane that are r units from the point C in that plane. Equation of a circle. If a circle has a center HK and a radius r, then an equation of the circle is parentheses x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared. The graph of an equation of this form with r greater than 0 is a circle with a center HK and a radius r. Equation of a circle centered at the origin. If a circle has a center 0, 0 and a radius r, then an equation of the circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. In this example, find an equation of the circle with the given center and radius. Center is the ordered pair 0, 0, radius is 5. Using our equation of our circle, x squared plus y squared equals r squared, we substitute in for r, which gives us x squared plus y squared equals 5 squared. Since 5 squared is 25, the equation of our circle is x squared plus y squared equals 25. In this example, find an equation of the circle with the given center and radius. The center is the ordered pair 5, 2, and the radius is 3. This time we want to use the equation x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k are 5 and 2 respectively. Substituting, I have x minus 5 parentheses squared plus y minus 2 parentheses squared equals 3 squared. For the equation of the circle, the only thing that we are going to actually square is the radius. So our final answer is x minus 5 parentheses squared plus y minus 2 parentheses squared equals 9. In this example, find an equation of the circle with the given center and radius. The center is negative 4, 3. The radius is the square root of 7. We still need to use the equation with our center, parentheses x minus h squared plus parentheses y minus k squared equals r squared. Substituting, we have x minus a negative 4 parentheses squared plus y minus 3 parentheses squared equals the square root of 7 parentheses squared. Since x minus a negative 4 is the same as x plus 4, we want to rewrite that as x plus 4 parentheses squared plus y minus 3 parentheses squared equals 7. In this example, find the center and radius of the circle. Graph the equation by hand. X squared plus y squared equals 9. Since this matches the formula x squared plus y squared equals r squared, we know that the center of our circle is 0, 0. Since r squared equals 9, r has to be 3. To graph the equation, you want to start with the center, which is at 0, 0. Then you want to graph your radius. So going out from my center, I want to go a distance of 3. And that's my next point. Now I can graph my distance of 3 from my center to any point on the circle. However, it's going to be easiest to go from the center along an axis. So I'm going to go up 3 from my center, which gives me my next point. Then I'm going to go left along my x-axis, 3. Then I'm going to go down 3. 4 points is plenty to graph our circle. So now we have the graph of a circle with a center of 0, 0 and a radius of 3. In this example, find the center and radius of the circle. Graph the equation by hand. X minus 5 parentheses squared plus y minus 3 parentheses squared equals 4. For this one, we want the equation of the circle that shows our center of h and k. So we have x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared. Since I have x minus 5, I match that to x minus h, so h has to be 5. I have y minus 3. In my formula, it's y minus k, so k has to be 3. My center is 5, 3. Since it's equal to 4, that means that r squared equals 4. which means r equals 2. To graph the circle, I want to start by plotting the center, which is at 5, 3. Now I'm ready to plot my 4 points to help me draw my circle. The radius is 2. I will start at the center and go to the right 2 and plot my point. Then I want to go up 2 and plot my next point. I'm going to go left 2 and plot my point. Then down 2 and plot my point. Now I'm ready to draw my circle. So now I have the graph of the equation x minus 5 parentheses squared plus y minus 3 parentheses squared equals 4. In this example, find the center and radius of the circle, graph the equation by hand. X plus 4 parentheses squared plus y minus 2 parentheses squared equals 25. So again, I want the equation x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared. Because I have a minus sign in my equation, I need to take the opposite of whatever sign is in the parentheses. Since I have a plus 4, that means my value for h is really negative 4. I have a minus here for my k, and so I have a minus in front of my 2, which means k equals 2. The center is negative 4, 2. For the radius, r squared would equal 25, which means r equals 5. To graph the equation, my first step is to plot the center, which is at negative 4, 2. Then I need to plot points that are a radius of 5 from the center. I want to go to my right, 5, and I'll plot my first point. Then go up 5, plot my next point, go left, plot that point, then down, and plot my last point. This will give me enough to draw my circle. So now I have the graph of the circle x plus 4 parentheses squared plus y minus 2 parentheses squared equals 25. In this example, find an equation of the circle. Looking at my graph, by the position, I can tell that the center is at 0, 0. So my center is 0, 0. That tells me I want to use x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Now I have to figure out the radius. Starting at the center, I go 1, 2, 3, and that gets me to the edge of my circle. I'm going to double check this by going up 1, 2, 3, which also gets me to my circle. So that tells me that my radius is 3, which means the radius squared would be 9. The equation of my circle is x squared plus y squared equals 9. The distance formula is d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 parentheses squared plus y2 minus y1 parentheses squared. The equation of a circle is x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared. If my center is 0, 0, this simplifies to x squared plus y squared equals r squared.